may not be able to buy a house, to have a child, to get married, because things are so unaffordable. And what are Republicans in the greatest deliberative body in world history spending their time focused on? Stopping you from going on Pornhub. Like, that's the crisis to them. It's not that you can't live a life of freedom and dignity. It's that you might watch a video with I was gonna give examples. I'm not gonna do that for your sake, but you understand where I'm going with it. That's the creepy, weird stuff that they're focused on as you are struggling. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my last thought is, if any of you try to come for John's tentacle porn, you got to get through me.
I love everything about that, including your choice of words. And it's not mine, it's Brett's, and you know it. But
no,
anyway.
I don't think so, buddy.
I think one of those books got through.
Please, can you re-up me?
Okay. Anyway, thank you, Brett. Thank you, Jordan, for your contributions for the first 99% of today's show. I really appreciated it. But anyway, always a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you. And we'll be talking about having you fill in the first week of June soon. Anyway, thank you all out there. Tomorrow's Big News Wednesday. Sharon Reed's gonna be here. Should be a lot of fun. So up until then, at least, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.
Welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richey. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day, none other than the big homie, Wosny Lambre. Always fascinating to have his analysis. Top story of the day, hell of a thing. Once again, defunding the police by way of the, police. We have a situation where taxpayers will pay millions, but the dynamic is going to be quite chilling as to why. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come right back to you. Indisputable. Stick and stay.
Our audience has given us everything, so we couldn't be more connected. When we first started, people would start giving us directions and say, okay, the mics are too large, move them, turn them into lav mics. I mean, they were incredible. And then one guy walked in and gave us a really expensive switcher and said, you guys need this, and walked out. Okay, it's amazing. They helped us build a studio. They did a $2 million funding campaign for us. And so they really are us. We do this show together to the point where some of our hosts are even former listeners. So when we say that the audience is part of TYT, we really mean it.
I think what the audience also appreciates is especially if they're members, they really get an inside look into who we are, our personal lives, what drives and motivates us. It goes beyond just storytelling. I think that what we do is allow our viewers and our listeners into our daily lives, and we give them kind of like this inside look into everything that we're passionate about and why it is that we're doing what we're doing, right? Like the motivation behind what we're doing, I think is important for our audience to know, and we're not shy about sharing that with them. And it's different from what people typically see in legacy media outlets where everything is kind of dry and robotic and there's really no personality or authenticity that comes along with it. Oftentimes when we're doing the show, I don't really think of it as me telling them stories. I think of it as us having a mutual respect and conversation with one another. And as I said earlier, I mean, not only do I feel that through the work I do, I'm informing our audience, but they inform me oftentimes as well. You know, they'll pitch stories to us. They'll tell us, you know, a certain perspective or angle to a story that we might have missed. And I love it.
What up? Welcome back. All right, horrific story. It is going to make your blood boil. Put up the picture full mass. We have a black man who was paralyzed by the police. He gets a $5.5 million settlement because of a Florida deputy. Florida deputies body slammed an unarmed black man after paralyzing said unarmed black man. You heard me right, after. That man just received $5.5 million in a settlement. Timmy Lee Knox, you're looking at him. Timmy Lee Knox, excuse me, you're not looking at him. That is the cop. Timmy Lee Knox is the 17-year-old black victim at the time. He was on his way to a children's birthday party, but he ended up tasered and paralyzed by a Palm Beach County Sheriff's deputy. This was back in 2021. The second unarmed man to be paralyzed by deputies from that same agency within a 10-year span that is noted for the record. Last week, the Palm Beach Post reported that Knox received $5.5 million in a settlement over the incident, which was captured on video from a deputy's point of view, a deputy's taser video. The West Palm Beach law firm that represented Knox, Cersei, Denny, Scarola, Bernhardt, and Shipley, informed Atlanta Black Star via email that they were not permitted to release the video to the media under the settlement agreement. Knox agreed to the settlement in July 2024, but it actually only became public last week after the Palm Beach Post received a copy of the $5.5 million check through a public records request, informing readers that it is not clear if the check presented the entire settlement. Details. Now, before I get into some of the background, already you have significant, at least financial cover-up, if not criminal cover-up in this case. The taxpayers were not aware that this $5.5 million had been settled or paid for. It became public once a media outlet, likely based on a tip, put in the open records request. The reason why it's likely based on the tip is because in order to get access to that record, according to the federal statute that governs it, you must be specific and precise as to what governmental document you are seeking. And if you have broad terms in your, request, they can deny it because of the man hours it would take to produce or to research such a record. So the tasering took place on the 7th of May, 2021, as Knox was picked up by a carload of friends to attend a children's birthday party. This was at John Prince Memorial Park. 2 female friends were sitting in the front, and Knox was sitting in the back seat with a male friend and 2 minors. The lawsuit obtained by Atlanta Black Star states this. On the way to the park, they spotted an unmarked Palm Beach Sheriff's car. It made a U-turn to follow them. Fully aware that the deputy was behind her, the driver drove the speed limit as the deputy continued to follow them through various streets. At one point, the driver was so nervous that she pulled into a random residential driveway. Full stop. You have an unarmed car full of kids. They're not committing any violence. They're going to a birthday party. You have a guy in an unmarked car who has made it very obvious that he's following them. If you thought the U-turn was coincidental, you know these other turns you're making are not. And so in safety of self, you drive into a random residential yard seeking protection just in case. You're being cautious. That's when the Palm Beach County Sheriff, Dustin Sullivan, stepped out of the unmarked vehicle and ordered all occupants out of the car. Once outside the car, Palm Beach Sheriff's Deputy Christopher Francis aggressively approaches Timmy with his taser drawn. This is in the lawsuit claim. Another claim. Fearing for his safety, Timmy runs southbound on Aspen Road, hops a fence, and nothing in his hands. Timmy always keeps his empty hands visible. Why is that part important to the lawsuit? That part is important to the lawsuit because it eliminates the claim that somehow this officer believed that the suspect was running with a weapon. And thus any interaction with said suspect could have resulted in a fear of life dynamic for the cop. This is just you chasing a suspect, and you have now injured a human being beyond what is able to even be repaired. He's paralyzed. You have done so unlawfully. The deputies chasing Knox on foot, leaving the other occupants unattended to. So both of the deputies, they radio dispatch, and they are saying, we're pursuing a person, asking for backup. And at no time they mentioned the person they were chasing was armed. At no time did they mention the person they were chasing was armed. Once again, they always mention if the person is armed. They always say it, okay? So Sullivan has his taser in his hand, which turned on the camera, okay? They have a camera on their taser, allowing the attorneys to describe the incident in the lawsuit. So the claim states the video shows Knox climbing on the roof of a house where he immediately surrenders and puts both of his empty hands up. Quote, the deputies grab Timmy's fragile body and slam him back to the ground, further exacerbating his injuries. Timmy is paralyzed from the neck down, and his injuries are permanent and severe. But after tasing, paralyzing, and body slamming him, the deputies apparently had nothing to charge him with because there is nothing indicated he was arrested in that time frame listed on the Palm Beach County online records. Sheriff Bradshaw cleared the 2 deputies of wrongdoing, even though the lawsuit states they violated numerous departmental policies. Now, this case has been civilly settled. 5.5 million. You ruined a person's life that was emerging into what we would call adulthood. You have significantly taken away quality of life. 5.5 million is not enough. It's not enough. And I hope it's not the end of their opportunity to seek justice through settlement. But you also have criminal liability that has been accused. But the sheriff, the high sheriff elected by the people, they decided, well, him and his team decided there was nothing to see here. This is the first time a Black man has been paralyzed by this same agency. Back in September 2013, Dontrell Stevens. Mr. Stevens was riding his bicycle when Palm Beach County Sheriff's deputy, Mr. Adam Lynn, began following him as well. Similar MO. He was in his patrol car, prompting the Black male to step off of his bike and walk towards the deputy. He's on a bicycle. Why are you following me? There's more. So Deputy Lynn responded to this by shooting him 4 times. Yeah. Claiming he was in fear of his life because Stevens was holding in his hand a phone. Stevens was 20 when this happened, left paralyzed from the waist down. Video of the shooting went viral and a jury awarded Stevens $22.5 million. But the appeals court overturned the ruling. He ended up receiving $6 million in 2020. Once again, not enough. He ended up dying from complications of the shooting at the age of 28 in 2021. Here's your MO. Your MO, and these are the ones we know for the record, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure there are ones that we don't know because they successfully covered up the settlement, the agreement, and maybe even the crime like they attempted to do here. But here's what we know. We know that these interactions were unprovoked. We know that all of these interactions on the record involved young Black males. We also know it was clear that the individuals they decided to harm had absolutely no weapon at all. All right, Watson, this is obviously disturbing, difficult stories to tell, more difficult for them to experience. What say you?
Yeah, obviously the incidents itself are tragic, horrific. Like, I don't know how you can be remunerated after you're paralyzed. Like,
Right. Yeah.
you know, anybody who's ever had something as small as an ankle injury knows how precarious, man, and fragile things are in terms of your human body and well-being. And the idea that you would actually become paralyzed from the waist down, I don't know how you make somebody whole from that. I'm fascinated by the idea that the public doesn't even get to know this in and of itself. Like, there's no process by which the police department comes forward to the public, whose taxpayer money funds the department, and be like, look, man, we had to pay a family $5 million because one of our officers paralyzed the guy, and you know, this should never happen again. We got to make sure we correct this. Like, we're doing new training. Like, nothing. You just get to move on as if this is just the cost of doing business. Like, every now and again, you know, when they say, oh, if you want to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs. And in this process, the breaking of eggs is literally paralyzing your citizens. I think that's the craziest part to me, is that without this tip that you mentioned, Dr. Richey, that these guys, we wouldn't have even known that this happened.
Right. That's right. And that's why I'm sure there are others that we do not know about because, well, the media didn't get a tip. All right, we're going to bring you updates if they develop. Taking you to the explosive, shocking new details in the Diddy trial. We have an update. Details revealing a lot during the first day. Here it is.
The video, captured on multiple cameras, shows Combs assaulting his then-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, in a hallway at a Los Angeles hotel in March 2016. A lawsuit filed by Ventura in November last year and settled the next day referenced actions that seem to match those seen in this video.
You understand the prosecutorial strategy typically by day one, sometimes day two. So they're focusing on the two primary victims, and this is one of them. So the first day of evidence in the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial has come to an end in compliance with the federal rules of justice. There are no cameras inside of the courtroom. Prosecutors focus on the two central victims in the case, Mr. Combs' former girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura, and another unnamed former girlfriend. And you wonder why she's unnamed, because the allegation is that of a sexual assault nature. It's a permission allowed up until a certain point in court. An LAPD cop gave shocking new evidence about the hotel viral video that we have all seen. P. Diddy said he didn't do it. He denied it initially until the tape came out. And then he said he just had some problems back then. LAPD officer Israel Flores was called by the prosecution Monday as their first witness in the federal sex crime against Sean Diddy Combs. He said was working at the Intercontinental Hotel in Century back in 2016 as the assistant director of security. So Flores stated that on March 5th, 2016, he got a call about, quote, a woman in distress, end quote. This was on the 6th floor. He said he encountered Combs when he stepped out of the elevator, per CNN. Combs was only wearing a towel and socks and appeared to be, quote, acting strangely, he said via the Washington Post. Flores also noted pieces of a broken vase on the floor. Quote, he was on the chair, slouched down, and he was like in a blank stare. The best way I could describe it was just like a devilish stare, said Flores, adding that Ventura was cowering in the corner, covering her face. He later recalled her having a, quote, purple eye. Flores said Ventura told him she wanted to get her bag and leave. Combs then told her she was not going to leave. The cop said this via CNN. Flores said he told Combs if she wanted to leave, she could leave, and told the two to take their argument back to their room, per the Washington Post. When he walked them back, Flores said he noticed another man inside the room. However, he didn't appear to be engaged in the chaos. Combs then approached the officer with a wide wad of cash and said, quote, don't tell anybody, said Flores. Per the New York Times, the officer declined the money, told Combs he'd be charged for any property damage. Well, damn, Officer Flores, Miss Ventura was damaged as well by your own account. I get that this guy's being honest on the stand, and I'm glad he is. If he doesn't, he's going to be charged with another crime anyway. But you have to think about the cause and effect and think about the emphasis we put on celebrities as if somehow they are special, they're superior. They're not. They're like me and you. They're everyday people. And then you have a victim who's obviously a victim. There's no ambiguity that she's a victim. This man says, go back to the room with the person who has victimized you. Take it back to the room. What kind of assistant director of security and cop would say that? So Flores said he later saw Miss Ventura and asked if she wanted him to call the police. Because that means that Flores did not. One of Combs' employees tried to halt the interaction until eventually Ms. Ventura said that she just wanted to leave and departed in a black SUV. Prosecutors claimed in the open arguments that Combs used, quote, an inner circle to help him commit crimes. Combs allegedly got heated and grabbed the manager's phone, believing he was being recorded. Flores said he then interjected, pinning Combs to the wall per the Times. Following this, he filed an incident report. The police were not called following the incident because Ms. Ventura refused to answer his questions and no one pressed any charges, the officer said. New footage was also shown the jury by way of a phone recorded video taken by Flores himself, who said he wanted to show his wife what happened. Once again, the safety and concern not present for Ms. Ventura. When he had a physical altercation with Mr. Combs, all of a sudden there's a report of the incident. However, no one reported the incident of Ms. Ventura. Just want to note that for the record. An ex-dancer, the witness called to the trial, the ex-dancer, Daniel Phillip. Daniel Phillip told Combs, federal sex trafficking jury, that he would then go on to be paid to have sex with the R&B singer, Cassie Ventura. Quote, he told me he was in importing and exporting. Phillip, the ex-dancer, said on the witness stand, giving the Combs jury his earliest firsthand account of what happened at a, quote, freak-off. The elaborate performances at the center of the accused sex trafficking case. Prosecutors say that over the course of 2 decades, Combs coerced 4 girlfriends into participating in these staged sex shows, which the indictment describes as commercial sex acts because of the involvement of male strippers or escorts. Combs has countered that the encounters were consensual. Quote, the government has no place in his private bedroom, defense attorney Tinai Garagos said in the opening statement on Monday morning. The trial is set to continue today. Obviously, more witnesses will be called. So once again, you have an understanding, at least in part, of the prosecution's strategy to prosecute Combs. I think the reason they're bringing the more egregious allegations first with the video evidence, et cetera, is to nullify the argument that this is something that just happens inside of the bedroom of one human being. That this is actually connected to a broader range of control, criminal at that, and coercion afterwards. The other charges that could have been affixed to other individuals, I'm sure they have some level of immunity. Naturally, you will hear from people who you will say, hey, they committed crimes too. Well, that's the reason they're on the stand, in order to not be charged with those crimes. All right, this case is going to get even more interesting and probably surprising. This is just day one. What say you?
Yeah, I think the prosecution probably did well for themselves by showing the video and establishing a pattern of abuse. I worry if they're leaning too much on the salacious nature of some of this stuff, some of the sex act stuff, and maybe don't really have the goods in terms of the more serious stuff that, quite frankly, I think is more important. This guy was beating the hell out of his woman. I wish we were just prosecuting him for that. And anybody else he was physically harmful to, because like this guy has a reputation for being violent. And it's obvious that he was violent towards Cassie throughout the duration of their relationship. And I guess the feds can't figure out how to prosecute him for that abuse. They're tying in this other stuff, the sex trafficking and coercion. Not to say that that didn't happen. I don't know. It seems like they will be concentrating on, like they had a part where a male escort urination was involved and all of that stuff. Like I worry if like they're leaning heavily on that type of thing because they can't pin him to the more serious stuff, which is, domestic abuse and sexual abuse and that kind of stuff.
You make a great point. And you're right, the federal government lacks some jurisdictional authority when it comes to how they can charge. For example, if you just commit a crime, that's a state crime. Feds can't get involved unless you cross the state lines and committed the ongoing crime in another state. Now the feds are able to get involved jurisdictionally. So I'm sure some of this was part of the calculation. We shall see what happens today. All right, well, Jasmine Crockett, U.S. Congresswoman, said the Democrats are already already supporting the safest white boy for the presidential pick in 2028 for the Democratic Party. Here it is.
It is this fear that the people within the party, within the primary system, will have about voting for a woman, because every time we voted for a woman, we've lost so far. And I think that that's a natural fear because we just want to win. So there's a lot of people that are like, you know what? Like, let's go find the safest white boy we can find. I mean, I'm just saying.
Those are the callers that we're hearing. We're hearing people.
No, for real.
A white man's got to do it. We're getting those callers.
For real. And to be clear, when we talk about them, I can tell you that there is one specific candidate. I had a donor on the phones with me telling me that all the donors are lining up behind that candidate. So I can tell, and I can tell you it's not a black person nor woman, okay? So like it is, they have, quote unquote, they have chosen. And when I say they, it's the same donors that most likely had their opinions about Joe Biden and move. So like that would be the they that I would talk about.
Let us analyze. The Congresswoman is speaking truth. She's telling you some things that are typically, well, behind the veil. But it is interesting, the notion that every time we voted for a woman, we've lost. Really. Now, that is a notion held by many, ironically. We've been voting for white men since the beginning of this nation. Look where we are today. And if you want to do an analysis, white men have been losing for a very long time. But see, when a white male loses, nobody says we cannot elect a white male. We cannot put a white male up for the next election. The ideology becomes we just have to put a better white male up for the next election. You don't switch gender. You're not switching race. You just say, well, let's just have a better candidate next time, more in tune to the issues. We have to raise more money so that we can get our message out. We have to be more strategic about the way we align the campaign. But when it comes to women in particular, and particularly black women, the conversation becomes, well, we just have to pick a white male next time so we can win. Let's put up the picture full mask. The argument seems quite contradictory to me when people pose those notions. Democrats are eyeing the, quote, safest white boy ahead of the 2028 election cycle, which once again, she's telling the truth. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett told the Urban View host Gayle King and Reese Colbert. Reese is a good friend. She'll be on the show in a few days. In a clip from a town hall shared online Friday. The clip is part of a town hall that will be released on May 15th. She did not name names, but suggested the party already has, quote, one specific candidate in mind. In the clip shared by Kane, the group is speaking about potential candidates when Crockett offers her insight. Quote, it is this fear that the people within the party, within the primary system, will have about voting for a woman because every time we voted for a woman, we've lost. End quote, she explained. Crockett also said, quote, Trump, who is a misogynist, Trump, who is going to ramp up the misogynist in the first place because that's what he does. He is disrespectful, she added. Quote, like right now, he still doesn't know how to deal with me because if you punch me, I'm punching back, okay? So like, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Now, I know he think he's running again, but that ain't happening. I don't care what all is going on in this country, and I don't care how many things we won't say we are absolutely going to do. I am telling y'all with all confidence, he is not running for a third term. That is not a thing. I was very happy to hear her say that because when Trump said he's not running for a third term, which he recently said this, I didn't believe it. But when Ms. Crockett said it, I can take that to the bank. So I'm relieved of that. Now, understand what she's making an argument, and I agree with her. Now, she didn't make it as plain as I'm about to make it. You have an unorthodox Donald Trump as candidate and president. He's unorthodox in both aspects. The traditional Democratic Party has no idea how to combat non-orthodox individuals. Trump has animated non-orthodox surrogates who will continue after he is gone. that MAGA crowd will resonate to this non-orthodoxy inside of their movement. She is the only one, or one of very few, who has been successful at championing her causes while punching back significantly hard against the, well, newfound conservative movement. In other words, she's fit for the fight. These guys have proven they are not. I suggest you all listen to the sister. She's telling the truth. It's a new day. All right, Wosny, what are your thoughts?
You know, I think it's obvious that conversation is absolutely happening within the power centers of the party. This idea that we quote unquote can't run a woman. To be honest with you, I think that's a load of crap. Like, just on the merits, we're talking about a sample of 2 elections ever. Like, as if there's this wide, swath of data that suggests that this can't happen with a woman is absurd, especially when you consider that Hillary Clinton actually earned more votes than Donald Trump did in 2016. I think it's crap, but I think what she said, the most important thing about what she said is that this messaging is coming from the donors. Directionally still, the Democratic Party is beholden to who? The big money donors. And to me, that is emblematic. That is more emblematic of the problems with the party than any potential candidate that might emerge right now, or their approach to Trump, or whatever. It's just directionally, the wind is still blowing towards these moneyed interests who have no imagination and who have a narrow set of people who they find to be acceptable for their own agenda. And I think that's what's ruining the party. I'm so happy she said, I spoke to donors. It's donors who are saying this kind of crap. And to me, and we've said this up here before, Dr. Richie, if you can get an ass whooping with the donors, why can't you try to do it without them? I'm sorry. It's not as if these people are some path to ultimate victory here. They're not. So why do you need to listen to these consultants and these idiots who gummed up the works in the campaign during the 2024 election anyway?
Right, well said. And I would tell you, the donors will change their minds when their polling data comes out. So understand, they are limited in their power, and many times will change their mind if you can show them the way. All right, we got more on the other side, indisputable. Stick and stay.
Damn it, they failed us. And if you're not angry about that, Michael, and any of you out there, then you're damn wrong, because you should be angry. Young Turks.
It was genuine. He was mad.
Cenk Uygur, known online as one of the Young Turks, isn't afraid to throw some punches.
3, 2, 1, fade up.
Cenk the Turk Uygur.
What kind of TV station is this? The whole point is for me to yell and scream and tell you what I think.
It was right out of like Wayne's World.
This guy on this little rinky-dink website is speaking truth to power.
We've been averaging 600,000 views a day, beating most of the cable shows in America.
We're the largest online news show in the world.
We're celebrating our 1 billionth view.
Television, we're coming.
More politics ahead with Cenk Uygur.
He knew that the MSNBC opportunity was an experiment.
If fill-in host beats CNN and headline news combined, at some point, they want to give me a show.
Every single year, that comes out of our paycheck. We put it in, and you're saying we were suckers.
When you, as a host, tells someone you're interviewing to shut up, that's going to raise a red flag.
That guy needed a tall glass of shut-up juice.
If President Obama's doing the wrong thing, I'm not going to tell you that he's doing the right thing so I can, quote, support him.
He says to me, you won't believe the meeting that I just had.
The head of MSNBC talked to me.
They want him off the air.
Cenk took an incredible risk.
We're supposed to challenge the government. That's the role of the media. The Democrats and the Republicans are here to screw you. And who on the air is saying it?
I wouldn't have done what he did.
That if I'm going to be a talk show host, I should be the biggest talk show host in the country. I don't think anyone else does it better. I don't think anyone's even close.
Before you know it, I'll be back on your TV doing a national show. I guarantee it.
Magic.
it's showtime and say 45 minutes. I'm hosting today. Now I know what you're thinking, JR, your face is already perfect, but you know what? I still need to apply some makeup. I went through this process, right? A few years ago, when I realized that I was gonna have to wear makeup on the show. I had to go through like finding out what my undertones were. You guys know what those are? I got my MAC Cosmetics. It says SPF 15 foundation, broad spectrum. But apparently what I have is red undertones, and I think pores are not supposed to be seen. I need all these things to be confirmed for me. These sponge things don't work for me. You gotta use your hands. This I did. That's how the magic really happens. So we're gonna go through a tutorial how to make the magic happen from beautiful to beautifuler. Let's go. I've already been moisturized. That's the first thing. But moisturization already happened. We go raw. All hands. Pick up a couple streaks. This is the guy way of putting on makeup. We got dots. There's some shiny points that generally happen. First of all, here we go. You dust here. I'm putting way too much, but you dust. Oh, get the excess off. You don't want chunky powder. There's like a T-zone, I think, right? Mine is a double T-zone. Because I went middle and another cross. Make sure your nose isn't all shiny. People get on you for it. They'll say, that's not a good point you made on there, JR. Your nose is shiny. You guys are picky like that sometimes. I think that's about it, fellas and ladies. See you guys next time. Bitsies.
All right, welcome back. Good to be with you. We got some comments. I will read as many as I can. All right. Neon Death 07, Doc, a former local cop, paralyzed someone and is now head of the police academy training future cops. That's insane. Send us information, please. JR, 5.5 million is not enough. If it's a young male, what's the age? It was for the story we highlighted, primarily 17. Was the age during the encounter. Yep. All right. So 36 Chambers Dragon says, good to see you, Dr. Richard Big Waz, an indisputable family. Already with the first story, our taxes. Yep. Taxes. Bailing out these thugs with badges, crimes. Police brutality would end tomorrow if our taxes were not forced without our consent to keep bailing out these criminal enterprises hiding in police departments. You're right. You are right. If the public had to legally be notified, had to statutorily allocate the funding and be significantly informed about who really defunds the police, you're right, things would change. The culture would change. All right, Sarah, I think this is Layla. I hope she inspires more women like her to get into politics. There you go. Well said. All right, got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
What a picture full, man. I'm not certain as to all of the background here. Would love more information if possible. But I am certain that what I'm seeing is a crime in every jurisdiction I'm aware of. A crime punishable by actual arrest and incarceration. According to the poster of the video, this incident occurred at a Kentucky Fried Chicken in a municipality in Spain. Ma'am, you're in Spain and you're at a KFC. What could be going wrong here? Nothing. Absolutely. Big Was, I'm gonna let you take this, brother.
Listen, man, I've enjoyed some KFC in my life. I'm not too proud, too ashamed, to admit it. But like you said, I've also been to Spain twice now. Excellent culinary country. Different regions have their own, specific culinary traditions. Just great food all around. Great restaurants that even maybe you say, oh, I don't like Spanish food. Get you some Italian food. You can get you some Japanese. Spain is amazing that way. That might be why you're so mad. You're in a KFC right now when you could be having some incredible tapas anywhere in that country. Some paella would have been nice. But yeah, picking up, that looked like the straw dispenser. And those things have metal on them usually.
That's right.
And to throw that in the direction of the workers, that's where it goes beyond the realm of funny. And like, you're a danger to the society, lady. Like, you're throwing heavy objects that could cause actual bodily harm at people. Yeah, the authorities need to get on that and get this woman.
Yeah, and to note, individuals typically who act this way, they act this way because they believe that they are superior to other individuals, and they will act in a way that shows their internal truth. The reality is that the person who threw the items, they're small on the inside, and to make themselves feel like somebody, they have to belittle others. Very shame on you. If there's an update, we'll bring it. I'm going to take a quick break. We got more on the other side. Indisputable, stick and stay.
Our audience has given us everything, so we couldn't be more connected. When we first started, people would start giving us directions and say, okay, the mics are too large, move them. Turn them into lav mics. I mean, they were incredible. And then one guy walked in and gave us a really expensive switcher and said, you guys need this, and walked out. Okay, it's amazing. They helped us build a studio. They did a $2 million funding campaign for us. And so they really are us. We do this show together to the point where some of our hosts are even former listeners. So when we say that the audience is part of TYT, we really mean it.
I think what the audience also appreciates is especially if they're members, they really get an inside look into who we are, our personal lives, what drives and motivates us. It goes beyond just storytelling. I think that what we do is allow our viewers and our listeners into our daily lives, and we give them kind of like this inside look into everything that we're passionate about and why it is that we're doing what we're doing, right? Like, the motivation behind what we're doing, I think, is important for our audience to know, and we're not shy about sharing that with them. And it's different from what people typically see in legacy media outlets, where everything is kind of dry and robotic and there's really no personality or authenticity that comes along with it. Oftentimes when we're doing the show, I don't really think of it as me telling them stories. I think of it as us having a mutual respect and conversation with one another. And as I said earlier, I mean, not only do I feel that through the work I do, I'm informing our audience, but they inform me oftentimes as well. They'll pitch stories to us. They'll tell us, a certain perspective or angle to a story that we might have missed. And I love it.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. So let me take you to a store. A store worker tells Black woman that, well, the customers felt threatened. Here's a portion of the video.
We have customers coming up to us and they are threatened by you. They are threatened by you? Yes. How are they threatened by you? They are afraid to come into the area that you're in. They're afraid to come into the area. It's because you were dancing and singing and talking on the phone. I wasn't doing any of those things but dancing. Okay, well, that's what I was told. And so I checked on you. You seemed okay to me, but I had other people still come up to me after I talked to you. What kind of threat did I pose? Please? No, she said that the customers were threatened. They were threatened? They not physically threatened. They felt threatened. They felt. How did they feel threatened? I don't know. I haven't talked to them. She talked to them. She just asked me to look into it. Okay. Okay, and then the threat is gone because I'm leaving the store? Yes, I thought you were leaving. Okay, I am not threatened by you, okay? I am saying that we had customers telling our sales associate, they were saying, don't go over there, stay away from her. So they were threatened.
Alert, ladies and gentlemen, it's a happy-ass black woman inside the store. She's singing, she's smiling. We're uncomfortable. Silly as hell. Put up the picture full mask. The employee, the manager who approached her, gave all of the points of defense that I would have given. You're not a problem. I don't have a problem with you. They didn't say they were actually threatened. They just felt threatened, which means it's not a threat. She said all of these things, which means she has conscious knowledge of the contrast. Conscious knowledge of the contrast. She knows that no threat is taking place. She is aware that this individual has not threatened anyone. And she is also aware that the complaint is rooted in the happy nature of the individual. It is not illegal. It is not some kind of adverse thing to do. To be happy. Let's put it back up. According to Atlanta Black Star, Ms. Kenya Hodges said she's still trying to piece together the events that led to her leaving a northern Colorado outdoor store on Friday after a discussion with the store employees. Hodges, who posted a video of the exchange with a manager of Jax, Jax apostrophe S, in Loveland, to her TikTok account under the title Racism at its Finest, says she never encountered such a blatant racial profiling. Now, keep the picture up. Keep the picture up. You notice during the exchange, I want you to look in the background. It is an outside store. She's outside. Quote, I'm a threat because I was enjoying my time shopping by dancing. However, I was accused of singing and talking on the phone as well, which somehow poses a threat and the need to have the cops called. Y'all just watch and see how she changes her tone once I tell her I was recording and going to post on social media. This is real life, and it really is unfortunate. Hodges 40 wrote alongside a video. Once again, she says, hey, when I informed her I was recording, everything changed. Yes, because she has conscious awareness of the contrast. She knows what's happening, but decided to be, well, not an anti-Karen. Pays to be an anti-Karen. All right, so the incident that started the conversation between the woman and the store manager was not recorded, forcing observers to take the involved parties at their word. Hodges said she was trying on a hat, taking pictures of it to post on her social media accounts. When a security guard approached her, asked if she was okay, then left. Hodges said she was dancing to her music, as she often does. A few minutes later, the guard returns with a woman who appears to be a store manager. Hodges said she asked her to sit down and told her that she was in the way of other customers. Quote, there's no one else around, end quote. Hodges recalled to the Atlanta Black Star in an interview. She no longer felt comfortable and was no longer interested in buying the hat she had tried on. According to the manager, customers had complained about Hodges allegedly singing, dancing, and talking loudly on the phone inside the store. Hodges said she was only dancing. She later heard the manager refer to her as a, quote, threat and decided at that point, it's time to record. Atlanta Black Star has reached out to the store management for comment. No comment has come as of yet. Many commenters suggested Hodges hire an attorney, saying that she was discriminated against by Jax. Hodges said she is leaving her options open. If people don't speak up, it'll keep on happening, she said. There you go. That facility, that store, that enterprise, they are bound by certain rules and regulations, obviously statutes and laws. One being, because it is publicly accessible, they must maintain a non-discriminatory framework in the treatment of those who publicly access the venue. You also have a claim possibly of how they treated you based on unequal or unfair treatment, which is adjacent to this discriminatory claim. All right, dear brother, this is, so she was too happy. That would, to me, that would have been like a great time to just kind of smile and say, I'm glad somebody's happy, and walk on.
I just don't understand this manager's position here. Like, what are you doing, lady? Basically accosting a customer and saying people feel threatened by you. Like, why are you in the management position if you can't make a proper assessment of the situation? You can be like, look, guys, I don't know what's going on with y'all and why y'all feel so like whatever. You need to get over it because nothing's happening. What am I supposed to, like, if she, like, in an instance where, because we've all been out in public where somebody's behaving erratically, and the poor store employees got to figure out something to do. Maybe somebody's going through a mental health episode. Maybe somebody might be, on drugs, whatever the case may be. You might be in a CVS, something crazy happens. But like, you can point to like, yo, they're doing this. That's making it seem like something bad might happen. Like, you got to tell these customers, like, what am I, like, if I call the cops right now, what would I be telling the cops? Like, you have to explain to the people who are going around and crying for no reason because this young woman is enjoying herself. Like, that's who she should have been having a conversation with and not accosting a customer who is literally minding their business and not talking to a single person. That manager is just a screw up in my estimation.
Yeah, you make a significant point. So the manager should have managerial skills. And able to diffuse the situation because she clearly sees there's no violation of policy here. Also, the woman was trying on a hat and posted it on social media. She was creating free commercial content, earned media that you didn't have to pay for. Now, public relations nightmare, possibly a legal liability. And in addition to that, the woman said there was nobody even at the store like that to have a complaint. All right. One of the saddest stories that I've ever seen as a professor is this one. A Georgia college student was mistakenly pulled over. Put up the picture full mask. And now is in the custody of ICE. A college student in Georgia remains in federal custody after a mistaken traffic stop. The police admit it was a mistaken traffic stop. 19-year-old college student from Georgia remains in Immigration Customs Enforcement custody after a traffic stop led to her detainment, according to the records. Zamina Arias Cristobal was arrested on May 5th in Dalton, Georgia, when her dark gray truck was mistaken for a black pickup that made an illegal turn. That's already shady right there, okay? The Dalton Police Department announced on Monday that a review of the dash cam video shows she was not the driver who committed the traffic violations and all charges against her have been dropped. City officials, including the city administrator, prosecuting attorney, and city attorney, confirmed that the stop was in error and notified her legal team. Her attorney, Charles Cupp, said in a statement to ABC News that despite the charges being dropped, Arias Cristobal is, quote, inside the Trump deportation machinery and is still facing deportation. She has a bond hearing next week, her attorney said. According to WTVC News, her father, Jose Francisco, was detained in a similar way as well by the police in Tunnel Hill, Georgia 2 weeks ago, going 19 miles over the speed limit. The family told the outlet that he is being housed at the same ICE detention center. She's a very smart college student too. And the humanity has been taken out of policy. Now, here's the problem with that. Policy is a socio-economic contract between the community and the government they fund. This college student funded the government as well. Do you think she received a federal scholarship? No. Do you think when she pays for groceries, she's exempt from taxation? No. So all of these individuals who pay into the collective known as taxes are funding the very governments that are oppressing, because they have now decided in a massive way to take humanity out of policy, and policy was created for humanity, not contrary to it. And this is why it feels so heartless, because it is. And this is why this is a culture shock to so many, even those that once supported Trump. We're going to stay on top of this. Obviously, we can talk about the legalities of it. We've talked about that. We've waxed poetic about it on this show and others. It doesn't matter when the person who's occupying the seat of power is lawless. You can talk morals and ethics and laws and statutes all you want to. He respects none of that. All right, Wos, thoughts here?
Yeah, the immigration policy of this regime just gets more harebrained and stupid by the day. Donald Trump at no point campaigned on, if you want to say he has a mandate on immigration, you can say that. I would say that's even a little debatable, but whatever. You can say that, but at no point did he campaign on, we're gonna lock up college students who happen to be immigrants. We're gonna have 5 ICE agents detain a woman college student because she wrote an op-ed that the Israeli government didn't like. 5 agents for 1 young woman, okay? You wanna talk about government efficiency. I mean, Jesus Christ. He didn't run on any of this stuff. And again, we know for a fact, Barack Obama, even Joe Biden, they deported plenty of people without any of this stuff, without any of the craziness that's been associated with Trump and his deportation regime. It's not impossible to deport people from this country, but this administration insists on doing it in the most cruel and ridiculous manner possible at every turn. And it's obvious that they don't think they can deliver the goods otherwise. You know, you read about this doctrine that they think they need a bunch of self-deportations in order to reach their goal. So they have to take the most maximalist, most insane approach to this, where you're just a dragnet of some of the most, like, it's insane that you would even think this makes sense to get these people out of here. It's crazy, and I think they put themselves in a bad spot because they promised the people that they would only be delivering the worst of the worst. This is the worst of the worst, Dr. Richie. 19-year-old young woman, college student, doing her thing, killing it in America, and allegedly, these are the worst of the worst, and we need to detain them and get them out of the country. Absurd.
Really is. And then when they tell you that it's a gang member, we find out, well, those gang tattoos were photoshopped, because when he got to the destination and was booked there, the tattoos were gone. So you're manufacturing evidence as if you actually are doing something. And here's another point to yours, Wosny. They can't talk about the numbers, so they promise numbers. So they have these written numbers about how many people are here undocumented, and all these are lies, these are guesstimations. But they can't deliver numbers, so they deliver headlines. And the way they deliver headlines, they'll put 10 ICE agents on one 19-year-old child, or a 21-year-old college kid, or somebody that wrote an op-ed that received a significant amount of shares and views. So they arrest them in order to make it feel as if they're doing their job, but they're not. They're not competent enough to do it. Definitely not competent enough to do it legally. All right, we'll bring updates as they come. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay. Indisputable is still the fastest growing news show in America compared to CNN, Fox News, and 30 other networks. We tell the truth on Indisputable because the truth is indisputable. We go places that other news media outlets refuse to go. When there were human rights abuses happening at the Victorville prison, guards and members of the community contacted us.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
It really doesn't take much to be a trusted voice. All it takes is to be fearless, report on matters, be an advocate. I called it the bullpen intentionally because it's a place of preparation. We present individuals who may have an opposing view, so we debate. Sometimes we interview individuals because their stories deserve to be heard. A survivor of significant police misconduct and his attorney. We covered this story earlier, and to remind you of the horror of one man being shot at damn near 100 times by the police. We take time on this show to showcase the temper tantrums of Karens in the wild. We do this not because we want to see people's emotional outbursts in public, but because these incidents are emblematic of a bigger societal issue taking place across the nation, and it has to be checked. My friend, my big homie, attorney at law, Benjamin Crockett.
I just want to thank you, man. Educated, articulate brothers like yourself speak truth to power. It makes a great difference in changing the landscape in America. So
listen, no matter what you do, don't allow the politics of ideology to evaporate the soul that still exists inside of you. They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reformed, so I won't stop. You won't stop either.
I'm wearing one of our pieces of merchandise. So the funny thing about the Dragon Squad, and that's what our viewers call themselves. That's the name of the group, but every individual chooses their own name. You might have Cincinnati Dragon. You might have Harry Potter Dragon. We have a Grandma Sunshine Dragon is one of those that I remember. These are people that like to have an element of themselves, their lives, what's significant to them reflected as a part of the community. But the concept of the Dragon Squad is just something I threw away as a joke. I was mocking the Proud Boys, these like right-wing groups that come up with a name for themselves that they think is cool, but it's actually really lame. And I thought, off the top of my head, I can come up with something that's still kind of lame, but much cooler. And so I threw out Dragon Squad, and I just moved on with my life. But everybody liked it, and so they kept it going, and so we've embraced it. And I think again, this was during the period of the pandemic. I think it was sort of nice to have a renewed sense of community, a feeling that you're a part of something when everything seems so chaotic. And as a result of that, we've got independent artists online streaming, making beautiful digital art of dragons. We've got, we've released a number of pieces of merchandise that people love sending us photos of them. And then, by the way, for me personally, people send me, like you can probably see in the background, like a knitted dragon someone sent me. There's a dragon book they sent me, dragon board games they send me. People have done like custom ironworks, making dragon bottle openers. Like the fans are super invested in diamond art and things like that. And so it's great that they send this stuff. Sometime we're gonna have to set up a wall of all of it. But yeah, it's definitely brought the community a lot closer together. The fact that we were no longer in this big studio, I felt a lot more personally attached to people. It felt very immediate. And I know that I personally needed the connection.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with you. We have a lot of comments. I will read as many as I can. Andrew Martinez says that Karen really went all the way to Spain just to end up harassing KFC workers. Now that's dedication to the Karen movement. That's right. That's the most Karen thing I've heard in international travel. Dro Mario, they just want you to be black over there, way over there. Talking about the black customer at Jax. Sean Jones, them folks find happy black people threatening. Yep. David Morris, right on Waz, they made her be the problem when the a-hole customers were the problem. Swift, talking about a student in custody, ICE custody. In the meantime, welcome Afrikaner. Yeah, that's right. White landowning males in Africa, South Africa, they are the victims. That's correct, according to the Trump administration. Dr. Hayes, I most certainly will not be visiting the USA for the foreseeable future. I think that's wise. As a matter of fact, Dr. Hayes, let us know where you're at. We may have to come visit you. And, all right, there we go. Okay. Thank you all for the comments. Now, hell of a thing, Hasan Piker, detained and questioned by border agents at the airport. He talked about it. Here it is.
They take me to this back room and we got to talking. And let me tell you folks, the TikTokers that talked about being detained, they were right. It was an insane situation. So it's very obvious that they knew exactly who the I was. It's very obvious that they knew how to navigate the conversation. You know, he's like, oh, what are you doing in Chicago? And I was very revealing. I was like, I want to take my family out for Mother's Day to France, but I had to come back early from France because I have a speaking engagement at University of Chicago. And he was like, oh, what kind of speaking engagement? It's like, I don't know, some journalism school stuff. And he's like, oh, well, since you mentioned that, what do you do as a job? And I was like, I'm a Twitch streamer. And he's like, well, since you mentioned that, what kind of things do you stream about? So I was just like, I play video games, but I also do current events sometimes. And he's like, since you mentioned that, do you talk about the news? And I was like, yeah, I talk about the news. So when you talk about the news, do you talk about the war? And I was like, what do you mean by that? He's like, do you talk about Trump?
What? These questions are not probative because you're not getting to a point of criminal behavior. You're not just being nosy because you don't care about the lives of other people who are strangers like that. So what are you actually doing? What is your point? What are you trying to accomplish? You're not setting the groundwork for some criminal charge. What are you doing? There's more.
And that was the first time where I was like, what the f is this question? I literally straight up told him, I was like, why are you asking me this? What does this have to do with anything? None of these questions are actually valid questions to ask. But I was entertaining it because, one, I didn't want to present it as being difficult because I didn't want to extend the detention. And two, I actually wanted to see how far I could take it. And I'm glad I did this because the reality of the matter is I'm profoundly privileged. I'm a public person. I have enough money to be able to fight back against this sort of thing. And they know who the I am. So obviously the reason for why they're doing that is, I think, to try to create an environment of fear, to try to get people like myself, or at least like others that would be in my shoes that don't have that same level of security, to shut the up. Why is this denying me entry into the country of my birth? You can't just stop me at the border and be like, what's your opinion on Donald Trump? You're not allowed to enter the nation.
I have a lot of background, but political streamer and TYT alum, Mr. Piker had that experience on Monday, and revealed what went down. He was detained and interrogated by border agents the day before. On Sunday afternoon, he posted a photo of himself on X, Twitter, with the caption, quote, "It happened." Minutes later, he said in a follow-up tweet that he was detained by Customs and Border Protection agents at an airport. He was then subjected to additional questions before being released. He was born here, like me, like many of you. Border agents. The title itself is indicative that you and I won't have any interaction. Okay? I was born inside of this border. The issue is that this was never about borders. So all of the Candace Owens of the world and others who tried to sell you on the hype that this was only about immigration enforcement, this was only about crime happening by way of undocumented individuals. No, this was about seizing control over you. But see, you didn't want to say anything when they knocked on your neighbor's door because you assumed your neighbor was Mexican. You see how that works? Piker, widely regarded as one of the biggest names in left-wing independent media, has long been critical of President Trump and the ongoing war in Gaza. He once called the US the, quote, top terrorist in a sit-down interview with CNN. He's not the only political content creator that had this experience. Here it is.
I am born and raised in the United States. I came back from Spain around 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now. And I was detained when I came in for about 2.5 hours. Mind you, I have global entry. This should have not happened to begin with. Scanned my eyes, the check mark went green. I thought I could continue walking. No, they had me pulled to the side, put in like this little box area. Another officer came and grabbed me. I was taken to around 5 different officers. Every single one of them told me they could not tell me the reason as to why I was being detained. I was treated like a literal animal. My father is an immigrant, but he is a United States citizen. He has been. He's been in America for the last 25 years, if not longer. Yet they asked me about his citizenship status when he immigrated here and all his details that I would not know. Then asked to vet my social media for all my social media accounts, including Snapchat, TikTok, and Instagram, as well as Facebook, and to show them proof of my income. They were asking some of the most intrusive questions, and when I tell you, they were transferring me from room to room, officer to officer. And the absolute last thing that was said to me is if I have any trips planned, why, when, where, and for how long would I go? When I told the officer no, he then screamed in my face a good 4 times, repeating the same exact question.
Put up a picture full mass. We have some more information on her social media. It's revealed that she has a clothing brand name, Trump for the Dump. I'm going to purchase one today. She donates the proceeds to organizations supporting LGBTQ plus rights, HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, immigrants, and Ukraine. Keep her picture up. The reason why she's doing this is because she has freedom to do so. That's why. She has freedom to do so. Now, here's what it seems like may be happening. And for any journalist, content creator, activist, I believe this has happened to other people. I can't tell you what to do. I don't know your personal situation, but consider saying something if it has. Why are you being stopped? I believe that there's a list. I believe that. Why do I believe there's a list? Because I don't think they just know who you are because they follow you. I remember in the first Trump administration, there was a rumor of a list of media targets being created then. Just some speculation. Wosny thoughts?
Man, it's so crazy because I have and I know people who have experienced, especially at JFK, where you come in and a lot of times they do they take you back to the side, do the extra search, or they might even take you to that back room and do a bunch of questioning and basically treat you like you've already committed a crime. And usually it's for drugs. It's drug trafficking. Like they're like, all right, people, this is like one of the most active freaking ports in the world. We're gonna do stops on people who we think is suspicious or random, whatever they call it. It's for drugs. It's never been essentially, I guess, ideology, just straight up. This is straight up re-education. This is straight up, communist authoritarian regime. Chairman Mao would be proud of these tactics if we're being honest here. And, and I know it's like cliche at this point, but just try to imagine and say, during the second Obama administration, say 2014, Glenn Beck was coming back from somewhere and he got detained. Right. And people started asking him about the stuff he talks on his political program, or Rush Limbaugh, or any of these people, who were in the right-wing media sphere, that Obama was having these guys detained at the airport. Could you even imagine this? I get it. It's cliche to imagine the opposite, but could you even imagine the outrage? It would be insane. We're talking about these people were calling the healthcare stuff death panels. Okay, could you imagine if Barry actually undertook authoritarian, ideological driven type of measures at the US border to American citizens, born and raised, red-blooded Americans? Are you kidding me? This is the height of just insanity with this administration at this point.
Yeah, it is. And the reason why it's difficult, if not impossible, for us to think in those terms, and I'm sure it never crossed the mind of people like President Obama to even do it, okay? Is because we actually believe in something greater. We actually believe in the diversity of America is a redeemer, not a disqualifier. We believe in people having equitable rights and fair access. We believe in these things authentically. What they believe in is the DNA of the beginning of this nation, which was rooted in one thing: white male domination. They believe in a historical context that has been proven and judged to be evil. We believe that we can nurture beyond the nature of the United States. That's the reason why we would never think to do something like that, because of free speech in America. All right, we'll bring you updates if there are more updates like this to bring. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
What contributions to the progressive cause are you most proud of? I mean, I don't have super high aspirations for a singular role that I can play in the movement or anything. I try to present myself as what I think that I am, which is a progressive man who is driven by I think, well-interrogated and well-organized system of values that I try to stay consistent on, and I demonstrate that that's the sort of life that a person can lead and be successful and be happy and all of that. And that should not need to be done, but there are so many people on the right that are trying to push men in the opposite direction that I want to be able to do that. Along the way, if I can get people to care about some topics that they wouldn't necessarily care about, or that for some men they might think that's not a topic that they should be focused on, that's definitely something that I relish doing. And along the way, I mean, we've been able to introduce people to a lot of candidates. That's been a big part of what we've done. Not all of them necessarily got in office. Probably most of them did not. And a lot of them, you might not even remember their names. But it was great to be able to provide people the platform where they had the chance of, making a difference. Obviously, AOC and all that. But there's been a lot of great people along the way.
In the bonus episode for the members, we do some inside baseball. We're gonna look at John's desk. Nice little spaceship here. Nerd. But it is kind of look cool. Who has Legos? Oh no. He's taken apart a keyboard. Who has a mouse pad that's this big? He's got a dog with a nose that you can hang something on. You know what this desk screams to me? Nerd. And that's how we like him. We love Johnny Pie. He's got his own personality like everybody does at TYT. Come meet us all in the bonus episodes. TYT.com/team.
David Sorrell.
Dr. Phil.
Adam Green drop by.
Charlemagne.
Congressman, great to have you. It's great to be with you, Chang.
Your show is a great thing. You're informing people. A lot of the shows that I live on, my CNN, my MSNBC, and even Fox, and any of the other shows, NPR, they are so quick to decide that they know what this building means today.
The one thing that I hate that politicians do, they talk a about the people they should be talking to.
Do they have any idea that they're the establishment and that they're hated? Or do they not realize that at all?
People are so deeply in their little universe. I think it's very easy to not really question what you're doing.
Voters have a right to ask questions of any nominee, whether they're independent, Republican, or Democrat.
The system is duopoly that suppresses competition.
How is it the year 2024 and we're still like, maybe they'll talk about paid medical? Like how is that like at one level it's like, this is what we're talking about now. You're like, it's 2024.
And that's always been the critique, that your critique of us is, well, you guys give good speeches, you put out good tweets, but you're not wielding actual power. Now we're starting to.
Yes. Congratulations on all your success. You guys are everywhere.
It's about a country and a principle, and that's what you and I both work to achieve. And I'm so glad that at least half the battle has now been won.
If you want to go really hear what's going on honestly, you should tune into the Young Turks.
Thanks for doing such a great job. Please keep it up. Hang tough.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy.
Oh, I like making you happy.
I didn't know about
This
that.
is a happy experience. You're welcome, YouTube.
Join the Dragon Squad by becoming a YouTube channel member. Click the join button below or sign up on tyt.com/join to get access to fun emojis, a member-only chat, exclusive shop TYT designs, ad-free watching, and so many other amazing perks. Plus, you get bragging rights for being part of the coolest community on the internet and help us drive real, positive change in the world. The Dragon Squad awaits, so join today.
All right, welcome back. Always good to be with every single one of you. Let me read some of the comments. Chris Huggy, could you imagine if they sent him to an ICE detention center? Stormer says, if they start screaming at you like that, then you say, Fifth Amendment, I want a lawyer. You hope that works. But they're already operating well outside of the boundaries of law and sometimes even contrary to judicial order. And David Morris, have you made any public statements that might hurt our president's feelings? Fees? That's a good one, man. It really shows how small people in big positions can be, doesn't it? All right. Well, we have an update. Does the new Pope have Black ancestry? This is going to be hella interesting, but we have the background. All right, Pope's brother, here it is.
He said, okay, goodbye. And we keep hearing all about your family background.
Yes.
I hear there is some Creole blood in your background, which people think, oh, so can we say that part of the family is Black? Tell us about your family background, what this means.
See, I'm not real sure about it because we never really talked about it. I am aware that my mother's parents were from Haiti. And we are aware that her sisters were all born in New Orleans.
Haiti, you say? New Orleans. Put it up full mass. Put it up full mass. All right, so Pope Leo XIV's brother is trending online after several media appearances. First, in an interview with Gayle King, he reveals the truth about their Haitian roots and New Orleans-based genealogist Jari C. Hanara first broke the news about this interesting branch of Pope Leo's family tree when he discovered that the Pope's maternal grandparents were identified as mulatto and Black in the census data from the 19th century. That's according to records obtained by the National Catholic Reporter. Prevost's mother, Mildred Martinez, quote, was the mixed race daughter of Black property owners, the Haitian-born Joseph Martinez and New Orleans native Luis Bouquet et Creole. End quote. In another trending interview, he makes fun of his brother for showing off. Here it is.
And watching him on the balcony, and he started to do his initial prayer and speech to the crowd out there in Italian. And I thought, I'm not sure what he's saying. Then he switched to Spanish, and I thought, okay, quit showing off, you little jerk. But
I mean, that's family. You know what I mean?
It's perfect.
We don't care if you're on TV or not. Catholic, we don't give a damn if you're the Pope. Catholic priest Father Larry Richards is going viral over his remarks on Pope Leo. He says Catholics should listen to the Pope rather than media figures like Raymond Arroyo. Here it is.
Instead of sitting there judging the Pope of the Church, read what he said. Most of you have judged the Pope without ever reading a document. You listen to Raymond Arroyo. Are you kidding me? Raymond Arroyo has zero, none, zilch theology. Anything that comes out of his mouth, he is not the teacher of the Roman Catholic faith. And yet some of you listen to him as if he's God. Stop it, don't be stupid.
Rev, calm down, brother. I get your passion, sir. It's gonna be okay. You know, you've been with the church a long time, and a lot of people like you. I don't know you. Were you this passionate about the sexual assaulters who were priests in the Catholic Church? I'm just asking. Because that happened for a very, very long time. All right. Pope Leo XIV calls for an end of wars in Ukraine and the Gaza, according to crowds in St. Peter's. St. Peter's Square Sunday, Pope Leo XIV noted the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. And echoing his predecessor, Pope Francis, declared, quote, never again war. Leo urged an end to the ongoing wars in Ukraine and the Middle East. Quote, I carry in my heart the suffering of the beloved Ukrainian people. He said, quote, let us do everything possible to reach a genuine, just, and lasting peace as soon as possible. May all prisoners be freed and children be able to return to their families, end quote. Quote, I am deeply saddened by what is happening in the Gaza Strip, he added. Quote, let the fire cease immediately. Let humanitarian aid be provided to the exhausted civilian population and let all hostages be freed. Quote, on the other hand, I welcome with satisfaction the announcement of the ceasefire between India and Pakistan. And I hope that through the upcoming negotiations, we can soon reach a lasting agreement. Leo continued. Now, MAGA says Pope Leo may be American, but he's not America first. Quote, this is part of the story. Quote, I mean, it's kind of jaw-dropping. Trump's former chief strategist, Steve Bannon, told the BBC on Friday, speaking of Leo's election, quote, it is shocking to me that a guy could be selected to be the Pope that had the Twitter feed and the statements he's had against American senior politicians, said Bannon, a hard-right Trump loyalist, practicing Catholic and former altar boy. And he predicted that there's, quote, definitely going to be friction between Leo and Trump. Bannon, sir, I don't think you understand the office of the Pope. If you're doing it right, you will have friction against evil. Your Pope, Donald Trump, is evil. He's the anti-Pope, okay? So yes, if you're a Pope and you're doing it properly, you will have friction against individuals who are living life improperly. I don't understand the surprise here, Bannon. So Laura Loomer, a far-right influencer who was Trump's ear, they say, swaying the president on top personnel decisions, called the new Pope, quote, anti-Trump, anti-MAGA, pro-open borders, and a total Marxist like Pope Francis. Yes. Yeah, he is. Yes. It's lovely, isn't it? It's beautiful. It's a wonderful thing. We talk about being unified under a great utopia of love, understanding, tolerance, forgiveness, compassion, and equitable resources. You are so right. And yes, he's anti-MAGA. He's anti-Trump. And I hope he remains anti-evil for the rest of his office tenure as the Pope. All right, Waz, I really, this is my first time agreeing with MAGA.
Look, like I think it's so silly to try to map on the traditional right-left dynamics of American politics to the freaking Pope. It just doesn't work that way. Like, even if he's a liberal Pope, like, he's gonna be super against abortion. He's gonna be, really like restrictive in terms of sexual ideas around, non-marriage and stuff. Like, he's gonna have traditional freaking views. And if this guy is a follower of Jesus, of the Bible, he's going to be anti-war. He's going to be pro-refugee. He's going to believe that we should try to feed the poor and house the unhoused. I mean, like, this is just standard copy Jesus stuff. These people are just like, use your brain for once and just not be so American politics pilled and just understand what the office of the papacy is. And yeah, man, like, yeah, he might be like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't treat, gay people and lesbians and queer people and stuff like that like complete pariahs in our church. Oh my God, liberal Marxists, Leninists, Maoists. It's like, bro, stop it. This is just standard issue stuff. This is what counts as liberalism in the Catholic Church, like treating gays like human beings. Like, I don't know why people should have their hair on fire for that.
That's right. That's right. Well said, brother. All right. Always fascinating to have your analysis, my friend. Tell people how they can follow you and check out your great work.
NBA playoffs are definitely heating up. So check out our coverage at theringer.com and check out Waz Speaks wherever you get your podcasts.
Thank you, dear brothers, always. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.